Hey guys, welcome to this video. I'm doing this video because a couple years ago when I was studying for my CAM exam to be a certified apartment manager, I did like a little video on paint, and this video is only for people interested in property management, by the way. Just shut it off if you're not. But I did that little video on paint, and it is my most watched video, sadly, on YouTube. It has like over 1.3 or like 1,300 views, and it's the worst video ever. Like the quality, I literally typed it out on Microsoft Paint, no joke. I will make another one of those if you guys want, like on an actual tablet, like where I'm actually writing it out, if that would be helpful, because obviously it is helpful. The formulas I used in it will definitely get you to pass your CAM exam. But I want to do this video because obviously there are a lot of people considering going into property management, and I didn't want a YouTube channel about property management, but it is my forte, even though I absolutely despise it, and I've been actively looking for a job in another industry for the last few months. But I wanted to kind of warn any future property managers of what they're getting themselves into, because I wish somebody would have warned me, because people don't talk about what you choose as your career early on. Like in your early 20s, you kind of get stuck in it. Yes, of course, we can all branch out and start our own businesses and go into other fields, but it's so much harder when your resume is like completely years of experience just dedicated to one particular field. And in my case, that's property management. I definitely think I'm really good at property management, but I absolutely hate it. So I kind of want to go over why I hate it. It's so competitive out there. Currently it's, there's coronavirus just wrecked our economy. So I know jobs are very competitive right now. But it's torture being in property management. Absolute torture. So without further ado, let's see. So I have a little list here, so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. So the pros, I'll start with the pros. So it is a recession-proof job, which is awesome. Throughout coronavirus, I have maintained my job, no problem at all. With rental properties, people are always going to be renting homes. Your luxury property is a downgrade for somebody that owns like a multi-million-dollar home, and their job just got ripped out from them. And whether you're an A-class property, which is, luxury apartments or condos or homes or whatever you're managing, or a C-class property, which is usually like government assisted programs, HUD housing, lower end. And I've worked at both. So my first property was very, very low end. We used Section 8 vouchers. Everybody there was well below the poverty line. And you know what? I liked that property so much better. Now I work at an A-class property. They're really big, but these people are, obviously I look at their proof of income to get them verified, and they're all very overly well qualified to buy their own homes, but they just prefer to rent. Most of my residents make $150,000 a year per person. Like, oh God, I'd way rather do the Section 8 vouchers and like work with lower income people, or just more pleasant people to be around. In my experience, sadly, it is the case right now. There's just, with each demographic of people, you get just a different vibe. Okay, another good thing is that it's relatively easy to get into property management. So you don't have to have a college degree usually. You just have to have somebody give you your first chance. That's what happened for me. And then, or you can work your way up. Sorry, my dog is barking right now. Or you can work your way up, start as a leasing agent, which in my opinion is such a better job. If I can't find another job soon enough, I'm just gonna ask to go to another property and be a leasing agent. Leasing is fun. Like if you're wanting to get into property management and you haven't gotten a job yet, become a leasing agent. You get to work, your 40 hours a week, and when you're done working, you clock off and you're done for the day. You don't have to think about the property or what's going on or if there's emergencies or anything. So, and you make really good money because you make commissions for all of the houses you lease or the apartments you lease on top of what your hourly rate is. It's a very low stress job. It's fun. I like being in sales. I like leasing homes and apartments if it's a product I believe in. If the apartment is really nice and I would live there myself, it's an easy product to sell and it's fun. It's a little bit more difficult on my first property. It was totally in the ghetto. Like, I lived there too. There were search helicopters every night. We would hear gunshots all of the time. I had a moped parked outside of my apartment window, and somebody just took off with it in the middle of the night. Cars were stolen. It was not in a good neighborhood. We were literally on gang territory. Like rival gang territory. It was like the meeting spot for like two rival gangs. So it was not an ideal place to live, but it was my job to make sure all of the apartments were at least 100% of the time. So sometimes I felt like a slimy car salesman, like being like, come live here, yeah, you'll love it. I didn't though. I really didn't. I feel like that's probably why I do a really good job of leasing homes, is because I am honest, and I would be like, look up the crime statistics before you live here. If you want a place that is going to be, I would highlight the good things. If you want a place that's cheap, if you want a place in a convenient location, it was convenient, definitely. And if you want, I'm a great property manager. I will make sure, if you got cockroaches, they're going to be treated. Which we did. We had lots of cockroaches there, but they would get treated right away as soon as people would let me know. Oh God, I've got so many horror stories. If y'all want property management horror stories, I've got a ton of them. We can save that for another video. So I would be real with them, and I would tell them to look up the crime statistics in the area. That's what you're advised to do, because you shouldn't lie or sway people to believe that they're living in a safe place when they're not. So, and people knew what they were getting themselves into, but still at the same time, I just felt kind of slimy, like encouraging people to move there, because that was my job, to make sure all of the apartments were full all of the time, and it wasn't the most ideal place to live. With that said, my last property, I was a leasing agent. I was leasing there for a couple months, and it was like the most gorgeous property in the world. I was so excited. Everybody that walked in the door, I'm like, you're gonna love it, and you're gonna live here. Like, this is so beautiful. Look at this swimming pool. Look at these views. Like, oh my God. And everybody that toured there leased in a heartbeat, because it was a beautiful property. But anyways, so that's something to consider. Being a leasing agent, you can start there, work up to assistant manager, and then property manager, if that's how you want to get into it. But it is a relatively easy job to get into, because guess what? No one wants to do it. Nobody wants to do it, so the jobs always exist. There's so many people that rent. Like, how much of our population rents? I don't know, but a lot. And the owners need somebody to manage it, and most people don't want to stay in the job for long, because it wears you down and it's not fun. Nobody grows up wanting to be a property manager. Have you ever met a little kid that grows up saying, like, I want to run these apartments? Or no, it's not like a desirable job. So you will always find a job. Like, I could get another job tomorrow if I wanted, especially once you've got the experience and once you have your CAM certification. Although I will promise you, all of the math that you have to learn for that test, I have never used it. Like, no. Maybe 2% of, like, maybe one equation from what they make you learn. I've never used it. So, but I think the CAM thing is honestly kind of a scam, because you pay, $1,000 to get it, and then you have to renew it like every year with their program. So it's just a way for them to make money. It's literally all it is. I didn't renew mine. I was like, you know what? I'm not paying $300 and I'm not buying their stupid courses. I'm not renewing it, because nobody's gonna ask for it. So those are the positives. Let's see if there's any. Well, the jobs are abundant. That's pretty much what I said. You won't have a hard time. Once you have the experience, you won't have a hard time finding another one. But the problem is you'll have a hard time finding a job not related to property management, because the skills that you will learn as a property manager aren't really applicable in other parts of your life. You learn accounting. That's a good skill. You learn sales if you're doing leasing, but really, like, I couldn't go be a retail manager. I don't know how to do an inventory or, how to sell ice cream cones. So keep that in mind if you're, starting out in your working career. What you choose is pretty much going to be the basis of what you build your resume on, and it's going to be hard to make that transition later on. Okay, let me tell you my reasons for disliking property management. Okay, number one, you cannot work this job remote whatsoever. If you're working at an apartment complex or working for just a community of rental homes or whatever, you can't work remote, which is really sad to me because all of my friends work remote now with coronavirus and everything, and they're going to continue to have the option to work remote at least part of the time. And there's just no flexibility with that. I have to be at work 9 a.m. every single Monday through Friday, regardless. Property management, often you're going to be working weekends, definitely if you're leasing, anyways. You're going to be working holidays still. As a property manager, you are on call 100% of the time, 24/7. Even if you're on vacation, you're on call. If there's an emergency, if there's a water leak, if there's a fire, if residents are fighting, whatever, you have to be there. So you kind of like, especially like my job now, I have like a call forwarding service if there's like a maintenance emergency. So my maintenance people are on call all the time. So I haven't had to deal with that stress as much. But when you don't have that call forwarding system and you're the one that has to answer the phone and book the plumber or whatever to come out and fix a maintenance emergency, like I literally, you can't just go out and go to a rave and party all night long and not look at your phone. Like it's always in the back of your head that you have to be like available if there's an emergency. So that kind of sucks. It really sucks. And if you live on site, the residents will bother you all the time. They don't seem to realize like that you are separate from your job, and they'll knock on your door at weird hours or on the weekends or when you're having sex. Like they're all in your business if you live on site. I don't live on site now, and I will not ever live on site again. Okay, property management companies. If you're going to work for a company instead of working directly for the owner, which is rare, you will never find that. You very rarely will find that situation. Most of the time you're working for a massive corporation that is a property management company. Greystar, Steadfast, Roscoe. You know what I'm talking about. Greystar, the main one, because they own the world. But all these property management corporations really have very little respect for the employees. They are so old school. There's like maybe 2 weeks vacation time a year allowed. Even if they pay well, there's like very limited benefits. They're very, very old school. I have in the last year and a half taken 1 day off. 1 freaking day off because I was really sick, and I asked for 2 days off plus the weekend to recover, and they straight up told me no. Even though I have the PTO accrued, I'm not allowed to take it. They don't want you to take any days off at all. And it's not just my company, but all property management companies are ran by older people that just have that, like, you gotta work hard 9 to 5, work your entire life away, have no flexibility, have no life outside of work. Work is everything. That very old mentality, and that's what people are moving away from. Millennials and younger generations are realizing that like life is short, and we are hard workers, and we are going to work hard when we're working, but work should not be everything. I'm going to be a better worker if I actually feel respected and valued at my company, but they don't. I don't think there is a property management. I mean, maybe there's a few like small property management companies, but the bigger they are, the less they're going to value you, honestly. You're just a number to them. Okay, so you can be there. Maybe some people will love property management and they'll be good at it, but that type of person is very different from the type of person I am. I'm a very compassionate person. I'm always on the side of my residents, even though I'm not supposed to be because they're not who pays my bills. But I'm not a fan of rent increases unless they're paying way under market value. Like if they're paying, if apartments in the neighborhood are going for $1,800 a month and these residents are paying $1,000, of course, let's get them up to speed. 100%. I'm not against rent increases if you're paying under market value, but if you're paying above market value already and your owners are saying, increase the rents more, increase them, they will just keep increasing them because they know that these people are just usually stuck. It's expensive to move, it's expensive to save for a new security deposit. They keep pushing rents and it does not feel right to me. Let's not forget to mention that it's the greed of owners constantly pushing for higher rents, even though their mortgage doesn't increase. That, combined with wages staying stagnant, is the primary driving force behind poverty and homelessness in this country. And people look at you and you develop a relationship with most of your residents. Like, I know every single person on every single property. I know in my head which apartment number they live in. I know how many people live in there, what they do for work, how much money they make. Like, you get to learn a lot about them. And then so you have this good relationship with them, and then you go deliver a rent increase notice and they're just like, what the heck? I thought we were tight, Especially at my lower end property, it broke my heart to increase the rents because $50 a month extra or $100, a lot of the times places force even higher increases, like $200 a month increases. And these families are already struggling, and the people that are getting this money are not struggling. They're on vacation like 6 months out of the year and working from their computer, checking their laptop every once in a while. Meanwhile, these families were literally completely living in poverty, like probably worrying about what to feed their children, and we're asking for more money so this person can upgrade their BMW. It feels so wrong and so greedy. And if you're the type of person that you're all about money and capitalism and that's your jam, then you might not have an issue with this, but I do. It's not an industry for the sensitive or compassionate hearted. So not only the rent increase, those are super awkward and uncomfortable, but also like the security deposits. My property management company and every property management company out there, that security deposit is extra income for them. That's the way they look at it. They want to keep all of that security deposit. And my superiors hate me for it because I return 99% of the security deposits. Yeah, if your dog chews up your shit, you're going to pay for it. But if you left the house in perfect condition, and I can tell that you cleaned it when you left, you even brought in carpet cleaners to shampoo the carpets when you left, you're going to get your full deposit back. And my property management company does not like that about me. And none of them will. But what are they going to do? Fight me on it, But at the same time, that's probably going to affect my ability to get a raise or to move up in the company because I'm not chasing after that money, chasing for more. That's what makes me a shitty property manager. I tend to favor my residents a little bit more than, multi-million-dollar investors. So, fire. Also, you have to chase after people for rent. It's not fun at all. It's awkward. I feel like a debt collector, and it's just an uncomfortable thing to do, And it's hard when you have sympathy for people's situations, but you're not allowed to remove late fees for some people and not for others. That's a fair housing violation. And unfortunately, it's just the way that it is. Your goal as a property manager is to make sure your numbers and you're getting as much income as possible to please your owners. This is a multi-million-dollar investment. This is probably one of their babies, if not their only baby. I mean, I do obviously have compassion for my investors that probably worked hard to buy this property at some point in their life. Maybe not. But, I do want their property to do well. Of course I do. I want them to be making as much money as possible. But at the same time, I don't want that at the cost of people that are struggling. If I can see a reason for a rent increase that's within a reasonable amount, heck yeah, I'm for it. 100%. You got to make that money. But when you're, taking from people that already have crumbs and you're already making more than you deserve to be making. Like, this apartment is more money worth, they're paying more money on this apartment than it's worth. You've got cockroaches living in the walls and their plumbing's not working, and you want to increase their rent $200 because you know they don't have an option of going somewhere else. Like, there's a fine line. I believe in fairness and justice, and there's not always a lot of fairness in this. But what I'm saying is, of course I want to protect my investors' investment, and of course I want them to make as much money as possible. But yeah, I forget where I was going with that, to be honest. Another thing, I'm not a great rule enforcer, because I just hope that people will just obey the rules and kind of mind their own business and just behave. But as a property manager, you feel like a principal or like a 6th grade teacher, like constantly, like I'm like herding chickens or something. Like, you just can't get them to listen. And I try to be as flexible as possible and accommodating and, understand their situation. Like, you parked in the fire lane for 4 days in a row. Like, you got to move your car. You can't park in the fire lane. And then I'm met with like backlash, complete, just I'm constantly getting yelled at. If you can handle being yelled at regularly, but I'm just yelled at for just enforcing normal rules. And I'm not like, here's a lease violation, you parked in the fire lane. I'm like, hey, I noticed you've been in the fire lane for a day. Could you please move your car? That's my first attempt. I see a second, hey, you didn't move your car. I'm going to need you to move the car, or I'm going to have to call the tow truck, okay? I'll give you another 24 hours. Third time, still parked in the fire lane. Okay, dude, I've got to tow your car. You haven't moved it. I've asked you nicely twice. And then they come down to my office and yell at me. They are so entitled. They want the convenience of parking their car right there. I constantly just deal with shit like that all the time. And it's like, I try to be so nice and give people plenty of opportunity to follow the rules, but then they don't. And first of all, like, just follow the freaking rules. I don't want to have to come after you and tell you to move your car. It's just stuff like that. They never want to follow rules. They're like dealing with children, honestly. Some people are good about it, but those ones that aren't, they really stand out to you because they're just so entitled, and that they constantly think that the rules don't apply to them. And I don't like confrontation. If you like confrontation, this job is perfect for you. Constantly in the middle of like resident dramas, because there's always going to be neighbors that don't like each other, and it's a matter of he said, she said all the time. They can't work it out between each other because they don't have the emotional intelligence of even a 6-year-old. So instead, they come to you and tattletale every time the other one does something wrong. And it's like just so exhausting doing this game 100% of the time. Like, she didn't poke up her dog poop. Well, he's looking out his window at me. I had a resident recently that asked me to transfer her to another home just a few homes down because her neighbor was waving at her. She's like, I just don't feel comfortable. Like, when I get out of my car, sometimes he's like, hey, how's it going? And I don't want to always wave, and I don't always want to say hi. Sometimes I just want to go, and I'm like, I feel you. Sometimes I don't feel like talking to people either. But you know what? You live in a rental home, it's near neighbors, and neighbors are going to be neighborly sometimes. Or if you have a problem with that, maybe you should tell him, like, hey, I'm just not that social of a person. I kind of just want to stick to myself and just go into my house, But I'm not going to transfer you home. It's expensive. It's time consuming for me. It takes my maintenance guy's time to make ready a home every time. Just the things that people ask for. People constantly want like free rent. They'll look for any excuse to get free rent. And you want to make them happy, but at the same time, like, it's not always a reasonable request. And obviously you want to make your investors happy by having as much income as possible. So you have to tell people no a lot. And I mean, it's frustrating anyways to deal with people wanting free rent. Like, dude, your guest bathrooms stink. was out for a few days, we're not going to give you $500 off of rent. People are unreasonable, but that's any customer service job. People are out, you're always going to have those people looking for freebies, always. Am I in my first complex, like I was put in like very tough situations often. Like I had one guy that was abusing his dog, which was absolutely traumatic, and that's actually essentially why I left. I was already burnt out of that job and wanted to leave, but that was one of the main reasons. We had a military person that had, I think in my opinion, he had like PTSD. He was like very like on edge and like very aggressive. And that's not anything, I mean, the fact that I just mentioned he was military because I think like that could be related to why he had PTSD. Obviously, I'm not talking shit on our military, but he was abusing his dog, and I was kind of afraid of this guy because he was pretty aggressive. And I went over there and I grabbed the dog. I opened up his apartment, and like this was a tough situation because you have to worry about like the legalities. At this point, I'm an animal lover, and that's more important to me than my job or obeying the law or anything. So I went in there and I took his dog from him. This is a very long story, but obviously that's very illegal and that is not encouraged for as a property manager. I ended up giving back the dog because of legalities. I only took it for a few hours while he calmed down. I de-escalated the situation. I could see he had like fur in his hands, and it was like he was like sweating profusely and stuff. And I was like, look, I need to take your dog to keep it safe right now. Like, I was very nice. I wasn't like, didn't go in there like when he was like not home or something. I coaxed him into giving me the dog, at least while he calmed down. And then I had to give back the dog, but I did call the Humane Society to go over there and retrieve the dog from him or evaluate the situation or whatever. But he was like, did you call animal control on me? And I just didn't respond because obviously I did. It was obviously me, but like I was afraid that this guy was gonna hurt me or come after me. So that was part of the reason I left that job. I just didn't want to deal with somebody like that, like being on their wrong side, because he was really attached to the dog, yet he was taking out all of his aggression on it. That was a really just tough, sticky situation. Those are the kind of situations you have to be put in. And another one, I had an abusive, it was two parents and they were abusive to each other, like extremely, like they'd be rolling on the floor, beating each other, like literally punching each other in the head with blood flying everywhere in front of their toddler. And I had to call Child Protective Services because you can't have a toddler watching that shit. And see, that's the thing. As a property manager, it's not your business to say, but if you're a person that cares about these things, it's going to be hard to not get involved. You're supposed to just keep your mouth shut and just, call the police, which I did for many months, was constantly just calling the police because they were extremely violent. And I really hope the best for them and their kids wherever they ended up. We ended up having to evict them. You get involved in people's personal lives. It's not, people are going out and about shopping throughout the day, grocery store, wherever. If you're working somewhere and dealing with people, you don't realize the kind of things that are going on at home behind closed doors. But when you're a property manager, you do. Okay. Another frustrating thing is that you're always like the face of the property as the property manager, and it's not fair because some things are out of your control, but it looks bad on you. And I don't like things looking bad on me because I do my job and I do it well and I make sure my shit is taken care of. But other people that work for me do not always. It just sucks when vendors, like contractors, electricians, plumbers, typically they are super unreliable, unfortunately, and they never show up when they said they're going to show up, and then the residents are pissed off because they didn't show up when they said they would, or they have to come back, they didn't have the right part, and the resident just yells at me, the plumber said they were going to be here an hour ago, why aren't they here? I don't know. It's not my fault. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know, all you can do is call the plumber and they're like, yeah, I'm running behind. All right. What more can you do? Not much more. But you're always the one that's like, people are upset with. Even though it's out of your control, it's so frustrating. Like, be mad at me when I screw up, but like, don't be mad at me when other people screw up. This isn't my fault. Honestly, when you work with a big corporation, big property management corporation, which is, like I said, 9 out of 10 times you will be, they just have stupid rules in place that just limit your ability to do your job well. Like, for instance, like my company, we have to use a vendor from our list of vendors, and it's a total scam. The vendor has to pay $100 for our company to use them. It's just a way for our company to make money. It's stupid. But I can't just like, my residents will complain, the plumber didn't get it right the first time. Like, get another plumber out here. And I'm like, I can't. I'm not allowed to use another plumber. I have to use that plumber because he's on our list. And it's like, I want to get a better plumber. Of course, I understand that this plumber is unreliable, but I'm not allowed to. So the residents are angry at me all the time, but it's out of my control. When you're dealing with this many people, you just cannot please everybody. There's always going to be somebody unhappy. And for me, that's a hard pill to swallow because I'm a people pleaser and I really do want all of my residents happy. But there's always going to be people that are just grumpy and pissed off. You can't please them. I have, like, for an example, I have on one hand, like, half of my residents are really irritated by people not picking up their dog poop. So they get on my case and are like, you're not being aggressive enough in your emails and telling people to not pick up their dog poop. But I send out emails all the time and I'm like, it's gotten to the point, initially the emails were friendly reminders and now it's, you know, okay, you're gonna get a lease violation if you get caught leaving your dog poop because the dog poop problem has gotten out of control. So I have been aggressive, but what more can you really do? I mean, other than issue a lease violation, and if you get enough lease violations, you get evicted. Like, that's pretty much all you can do. I can't sit out there monitoring or put security cameras up and identifying each person that's not picking up their dog poop. That's just not practical. So I have these people on one hand that are saying I'm not sending out enough emails. And then I have my other residents on another hand that when I do send out the emails, they literally respond with, fuck off, I'm sick of reading these same emails. So that hurts. When you send out an email and somebody responds with fuck off, these are the type of people that I deal with. I kid you not. I even sometimes record the audio on my phone with certain residents. I know they're gonna come in. When I see them come in, I'm like, this is gonna be a 15-minute ordeal of somebody yelling at me because I threatened to tow their car because it was parked in a fire lane for 4 days. Like, you do get those residents that tell you that they appreciate you and all that you do and that say that they love the property and they never want to leave. I have one lady that says, you're gonna have to carry my dead body off of this property. Like, so you get a lot of that, definitely, and that's a really good feeling. And, you know, residents will bring you food and gifts and stuff. It's really sweet, but for me, like, the bad ones, it's hard to let that go when somebody is so rude to you. And just in customer service roles, you just have to take it, sit there and just like take it. It's terrible. I do believe that we need to, like, all collectively, us younger generations, need to decide that the customer is not always right. We need to get rid of these Karens and Kens. We, like, the idea that the customer is always right is absolutely ridiculous. Because it's not. A lot of the time, the customer's a dickhead. And we should be allowed to stand up for ourselves. The reason they continue to behave like that is because they get their way when they do. A lot of the time when people do behave like that, I just give them what they want just so that they will get the hell out of my office. So I think we all need to start standing up for ourselves, those people that are in the customer service industry. And we need to start standing up when we see a customer mistreating a customer service representative. We need to stand up for them because they can't stand up for themselves, or they might lose their jobs. And companies need to stand up for their employees and have their back when a customer is being irrational. But until then, I guess we just have to bite our tongues and take it. Anyways, thank you for coming to my video. Of course, all jobs have bad qualities, but you should go into property management seeing it for what it is before you make that decision, because it might be difficult for you to find another job after you've built your resume for several years in property management. All right, peace out.